Chapter 31. The salon really took off in the new year. Figured since the country's average life expectancy was 37, I would concentrate on the young and the beautiful. There was no point in indulging a clientele that was statistically supposed to be dead. For people over 40, we were very selective. They had to be the cream of the elite to use our service. The publicity garnered from the First Lady's visit had been of immense value to us. Our salon had been featured in the state newspapers and the independent weeklies. The latter did not know what they were doing, that they were doing us a favor in their portrayal of the salon as overpriced and elitist. It became necessary for me to spend more and more time at the business. I had also begun taking driving lessons because I needed my own wheels. Dumi had served his notice at Mrs. Kumala's salon. He told me she had practically begged him to stay. We were spending less time together, but I was so happy in my work that I did not notice his absence or question it as I might have once before. I had hoped that he had begun working for me. I hoped that once he had begun working for me, our companionship would resume. The first time I felt something was wrong was toward the end of January. We were both at home when a car pulled up at the gate late at night. "I'm going out tonight. I'll be back later," Dumi said, putting on a jacket. "Who is it?" I asked, wondering why he had not mentioned that he was going out before. "No one, it's just a friend, that's all. We're just nipping out for a drink. It's almost midnight and you have work tomorrow. I'll be back." I watched him walk across the driveway in the glare of the headlights. It gave him an eerie look. I could not figure out whose car it was. Was it another woman? Come to think of it, on a few occasions, Dumi had often taken to going into his bedroom when his phone rang and speaking in a low voice. Surely Dumi wouldn't betray me. I felt guilty even thinking this way, and he'd given me so much support. Had I been taking him for granted? I didn't think so, but it was true we hardly ever spoke about our future together now. It was like something given. I could not sleep, tossing and turning in my sheets, trying to figure out what was going on. It was true that all the time we'd been together, Dumi had not once introduced me to any of his friends, yet he'd been comfortable enough to introduce me to his family. Now, thinking about it, it seemed odd. I knew that in the middle of the night, problems have a way of growing exponentially, but I could not shake off my anxiety. I'd kept my curtains open and my ears pricked every time I heard a car passing by. Part of me wanted to go into his room to search for clues, but I controlled myself. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Dumi had still not returned. 4 o'clock, and I paced around the living room, occasionally peering out to the dark, hoping to see him emerging through the garden. He was not the kind of person to cheat. It didn't seem in character. Perhaps he was preparing a surprise for me. What if he had been in an accident while I was imagining all sorts of acts of betrayal and deceit? I felt ashamed of myself. Day broke, and I went for a bath. By the time I left for work, he had still not returned. It was raining heavily, and my umbrella broke in the wind. So when I arrived to the shop, I was drenched to the bone. Sarah came in soon afterwards, her hair soaked, looking like a wet dog. "Morning, Bass," she said, reaching for a towel and drying herself. "The farmers will be pleased today, if they're farming anything other than weeds, maybe." Holding a cup of coffee, I looked out over the drenched gray atmosphere. This was surely what Britain looked like. Robert had once told me about the gray overcast skies and the coldness of the people over there. "What's on your mind, lovely?" "Nothing," I replied. "Don't give me that. I'm slightly older and wiser than you. Let me guess, man troubles, is it?" I gave a weary smile and sipped my coffee. "That Dumi Sani of yours seems like a decent chap. Not like some of the other black guys I've seen who always seem to have another woman somewhere. No offense meant. He went out and didn't come home last night." "Oh," she covered her mouth with her hand. "There could be a rational explanation for it. That's what I'm hoping." She patted my hand in a motherly gesture and poured herself a cup of tea. People were running by, trying to stay out of the rain. We would have talked more if Yolanda and Tariro had not come in. They were also drenched, and I told them to spruce themselves up. The first customer would be coming in at any moment. It was a struggle, but I wore my business face. I got home with a heavy heart. Chimoniso jumped on me and showed me a picture she had drawn at school. It had me, a big woman with wild hair drawn in purple, with a pink triangle for a skirt, her as a miniature version of me, and a man, Dumi, standing tall between the two of us, his afro represented by a mass of curly lines. "It's a really good drawing, but where is Sisi Made?" I said to her. "She's that one." She pointed to the woman in the triangle skirt. "Where's Mummy? Mummy's at work." I set her on the ground, but she ran off to her room to play with her toys. I did not know what to make of that. The business had consumed me so much. I was spending less time with my daughter. My day came in to give me some letters. They were the electricity bill and the council rates for the coming months. but it felt good not to be in arrears anymore. I looked at my day standing before me, and for the first time I realized that she had a special place in my daughter's heart. She was there for her when I was not. Only now did I realize how important she was in my life. If my day was not there, I could not have accomplished half the things I could have done in the last few years. I spent all my time thinking of her as a simpleton. When was the last time I said thank you to her? Is Doomy in? I asked. He should be in his room. What time did he come back? Around 10 o'clock this morning. What did he do after that? He went straight to bed. I dismissed my day and sat alone in the lounge. One part of me wanted to go immediately to his room to confront him, but I was too angry and afraid I would say the wrong things, stuff I would regret later on. I tried to remember our long-forgotten auntie's advice for dealing with errant men, but it did not come to me. Anger was never the answer. I told my day not to bother cooking, I would do it myself. I prepared a course of spicy chicken with plenty of soup and rice. The stomach was the way into a man's heart. Doomy woke up after 8, and I invited him to have dinner with me at the table. I had already sent Chiwaniso to bed, so we were alone. It smells really nice, he said as he sat down. Candlelit dinner? What's the special occasion? I cooked it myself. You know how much I love your cooking. Maybe after the salon you'll open a restaurant. Doomy devoured his food almost without tasting it, then asked for more. He washed the chicken down with a glass of cold water. I ate slowly, and with each mouthful, I felt as though I would gag. Doomy could not look me in the face. Whenever I tried to make eye contact, he looked at his empty plate. I think we need to talk, I said finally. He scratched his nose with his pinky. Sure thing, you know we can talk about anything. Let's start with who you were with last night. I told you I was out with a friend. What's her name? His name is Paul. We went to school together. Where did you go? Just to the club for a drink. Shane Temba. I never took you for a Roomba fan. What time did you get back? I came in just after you'd left and rushed straight out to go to work. Look, this is beginning to sound like an interrogation. Chapter 32. Jealousy is the worst feeling in the world. It creeps up on you, hugs you so that you can't breathe. Your chest feels compressed and food loses its taste. In my case, my condition was worsened by uncertainty. In the morning, Doomy greeted me and told me that he'd made breakfast himself since I'd cooked him dinner. He adjusted the bun in Chiwaniso's hair before my day walked her to school. His expression impregnable. I knew I was at a loss. He seemed like the same old Doomy that I knew and loved. We talked about styles emerging from the backyard salons in Highfields and Canaan and wondered if we could convert them to look upmarket. You're still on course for joining me at the end of this month, aren't you? Of course, nothing has changed. He spoke through a mouthful of toast. I wondered if he was right. Perhaps nothing was something, and then what? We left for work together. There were more cars on the road because the petrol station had improved. The government was allowing more stations to sell their petrol in foreign currency, and that had eased the acute shortages. The combi we took was full, and we hung on for dear life near the door, which seemed about to fall off. When are you going to buy your license? There's no way you'll catch me taking 2 combis every day to Sam Levy's. Give me to the end of February. The instructor wants me to take the test in Chinhoyi because that's where his connections are. You still have to pass through the drums and the parallel parking, but once you're out of the VID depot and on the road, the license is guaranteed. No wonder we have the highest accidents rates in the world. They should just stop the charade and start selling the damn licenses in supermarkets or at auctions to the highest bidder. Everyone's doing it. That's precisely the problem. If they set the standards they're supposed to set, the whole country would stop. There's no way they could fail each and every person coming through their door. I've sat 2 tests and been failed twice because I won't pay a bribe. I was raised in a car and I know the rules of the road better than any of those jokers, but they still fail me. Even the instructors are in on it. They get a cut too. The whole thing stinks. Could someone who was so upright cheat me? It didn't seem possible. I wanted to kiss him on the cheek when we parted, but it was too public. I felt I'd been torn in half, become 2 people with 2 different minds and 2 different hearts. Sarah was waiting for me outside the shop when I arrived. I resolved to give her a set of keys in case one day I was delayed or fell ill. She was always the first of my staff to come on site and the last to leave. Have you found out anything else about his mysterious whereabouts? She asked as I let her in. Nothing yet, but I'm sure there's something he's not telling me. Sounds a little like my ex-husband. You never told me you had a husband. I said ex. I was married at 21. You know, that age where love is supposed to last a lifetime. You feel all warm and fuzzy inside. It lasted just 5 years, and I'm glad to be out of it. Where did it all go wrong? Cheating, of course. There's only 2 certainties in a relationship. Either he cheats on you, or you're going to cheat on him at some point. Hear this from someone with experience. Men can't keep their dicks in their pants. But Doomy is, it's the ones you least expect that hurt you the most. Relationships are a game of cat and mouse. Now you're the pussy, but you have to behave more like the guard dog. He has to realize that if he's up to no good, you'll know, no matter how discreet he is. Put the fear of God up his arse. Do you really think that would work? Not really. With my ex, I put spyware on the computer and on his mobile, so I would know every text he received, every email, everything. It was some MacGyver stunt, real FBI. And spying made me feel pretty cheap, I can tell you. Still, he knew that I knew, but he went ahead and did what he did. That's because when sex gets into their heads, they just can't help themselves. I mean, he left me for some Irish floozy who'd come down here on holiday. Can you believe that? She opened the diary and the receipt book to prepare for the day. Our comedy journey had somehow lulled my anxieties. Now, talking about the situation brought them all back. Sarah brought me a cup of tea and I felt a little bit better. Doomy's the one. I can't even begin to imagine a future without him. He's a great listener. I think he'd make a great father for Chiwoniso. My head felt light, like someone had blown hot air inside it. Sarah leaned towards me and offered her hand. I don't know what I can tell you, but the best advice I can give is to stay on your toes. Keep one step ahead, because once you start reacting, you've lost the battle. She spoke like a woman whose heart has been torn to pieces and who wasn't going to that dark place ever again. She rubbed her naked ring finger as if it was itchy. Michelle dropped into the salon around closing time. She had come to take me home, which she did every so often. It gave us a chance to catch up and gossip. She was wearing blue track bottoms. We went over to Mimi's for a coffee. The owner recognized me and asked how the salon was doing. It's very pricey, that exclusive of yours. But look how much you're charging us for coffee beans and boiling water, Michelle said with a smirk. You're getting more than that. There's the ambiance, which you won't get anywhere else. Maybe you should come down to the salon one day and we'll pamper you, and then you'll see that we also offer an ambiance you can't get anywhere else. She left us and went back behind the counter. Each time someone spoke to me like this, I felt part of the family at Sam Levy's. We were all peddling smoke and mirrors and worried that someday someone would pull the rug out from under our feet. The smell of coffee filled my nostrils. There was something vaguely erotic about having coffee. I think it came from all the Sex in the City I was watching on my new satellite channels. So how's things between you and Doomy? All right, I guess. Just all right? My brother's super. You should be looking after him. I am. Anyway, you two are boring, so let's skip that. I met a guy today. He's really hot. I was kind of bored and hanging around the gate at home when this guy on a mountain bike stops and asked me the time. I was like, damn. To cut a long story short, he gave me his number and we've been texting all day. As if on cue, her phone began to vibrate. Is it him? He said he was thinking about me. I was thinking about you too. This guy has to be the one. You're a bit too young for that. What does he do for a living anyway? He's at uni in Australia studying architecture or something like that. I think I might go over and do my uni there too if mom and dad will allow me. There's no way they'll cough it up if they think it's for a guy. When I returned home, Doomy told me that he was going away to Nyanga for the weekend. He needed a break and some fresh air and wanted to go mountain climbing while he was there. I waited for an invitation that never came.